Hello and good morning. My name is Les Chilton. Thanks for bearing with me there at the beginning, but we are in fact here to talk about our Synology cameras. I'm Les Chilton. I'm the product expert for surveillance and cameras, so you are in good hands this morning. Nice to meet you, Naz. This morning, we're going to have a quick look at the camera models themselves. Once we've had a look at the hardware features, we'll go into the setup and just how simple and easy it is. And then we'll also go into some of the software features and the reasons why you might want to pick our solution over anything else. As I said, we'll start things off with the maker model. And here they are. Aren't they beautiful? On the left, you have the BC500, this bullet style camera. On the right, the TC500 turret. Feature-wise and internals, more or less the same. It's more down to your preference on what is going to look better where you want to install it. And in most installations, you might want to sort of swap between them. The bullets tend to go nicely sort of outside, on the side of buildings. Turrets tend to go well in rooms, etc. But both are internal or external cameras. We'll break down the capabilities very quickly. Both cameras feature a 5 megapixel camera with HDR. I'll demonstrate that in just a second. They have long range night vision up to 30 meters. You get a nice 110-degree viewing angle. And they're, of course, weather rated -20 to 48 degrees Celsius. Even with the temperatures as they have been up and down recently, I think they can comfortably run inside or out anywhere in Europe at the moment. Now, again, I just want to bring up the HDR lighting. So what we can see at the moment, this is 5 megapixel footage from another webcam that's just recording in 5 megapixels. As you can see, while the picture is fairly sharp, the lighting makes it difficult to capture the subject's face. Switching here to HDR mode on a Synology camera, the same footage. It's a lot easier to see the subject, see the spatial features, and especially if you're going to use this for things like evidence, this is a night and day difference. We're again going to talk quickly about how to set these up and other things that you might need to consider. Starting with the power options. Now, as standard for Ethernet cameras, internet cameras, these do have PoE, and there's also a 12-volt adapter in the box. So either way, you are covered. These are wired cameras. There's no wireless functionality in them. That's a question we get asked every so often. So do bear that in mind that you will need to cable these in if you want to install them, and make sure that there is cabling to the areas that they'll be going. Once you've actually got up on the ladder, you've fitted them, you've installed them. It's very, very easy to add them in Surveillance Station. You can just go into IP camera, which we'll demonstrate in a moment, and it should detect the new cameras once they're in and switched on. If you've got large-scale implementations, I'd say, if you've got more than 20 cameras, you don't want to go through and do the settings on all of those. Really, the choice is yours. You can upload a CSV sheet with the predefined IP addresses, the configuration and settings. I'm not demoing that in this webinar, but I've got a webinar coming out towards the end of the year where we'll be sort of demonstrating that functionality. What I'll do quickly, though, is I will show you some footage of the camera being added. Now, as I say, I like to do these live. The practicality really is, we find that the chance of technical issues isn't zero when we do them live, so we like to pre-record those. But as you can see, I've added the BC500. I'm just going to add now. Someone walking past the door again. I got paranoid it still wasn't working. Sorry, guys. As you can see, it detects the camera, and I can just give it a quick name and hit initialize. All I need to do is put in the administrator credentials for the device. And as you'll see, it will whir away for a second. Very quickly, you'll be able to see the feed, and it will show that it's been added. On the next tab, I can go through and set settings manually, but the default settings should be sufficient. I hit done, and there you go. Give it a couple of seconds. You'll be able to see that feed very quickly appears. And then all I have to do is click on it. And in just a second, it'll be up and running. There you go, start to finish, roughly a minute. Now, if you've got a larger implementation, you can do things like configure static IPs for the cameras. Perhaps you want to keep them on a separate subnet for security purposes or other reasons. Also, you might have cameras that are on other subnets that you want to detect. Now, in this demo, I've added 2 cameras. Oh. So see how quickly it detects those. There you go, it's got the first one. And the second one. But let's say that I've already got cameras that I want to bring into Surveillance Station. They're already on another subnet. Actually, I'll take a quick moment to point out the firmware is different on these 2 cameras. The one that is not up to date, you can update it straight from the UI here. That's another reason why you might want to use our cameras. Everything is controllable from Surveillance Station. But as I said, say the camera's not on the network that it's connected to at the moment. I can go to Find Device, and I can search by IP. I can search for a different range, and I can put in the credentials and scan another IP range for those cameras. Once I can see them, I can also go into More and Edit, and I can assign static IP address and networking that way. I can go into Configure Network with several connected, and I can set the start IP address, and it'll assign them all static IP addresses with the start one in a range. And again, once I've got them set up in the way that I'd like, I just hit activate. I can have several selected and just activate with the credentials and automate the settings. All right. Now that I've covered the introduction, the installation, we'll go over the software itself. And I'll ask the question: why would you want to choose Synology cameras over all of the other brands? Now, some of you might be aware we support over 8,300 models of camera. So there is literally something for everyone out there. Why ours over everybody else? And the simple answer is they are designed from the ground up for Surveillance Station. There's no licenses needed, and it's fully integrated with Surveillance Station in every way that we could tailor it. Now, this manifests in simple management. We try and bring as much as possible into Surveillance Station for all of the cameras that we support, but there'll always be certain features, etc., that we can't integrate with manufacturers. And for those, when you need to make changes, you may need to log into web portals and do additional maintenance steps. With Syno cameras, everything is in Surveillance Station. So even live from a monitor center view, like you can see here, you could right-click those cameras and make changes in real time. It's very, very quick and easy to manage them. They're also fully NDAA and TAA compliant. That means that they can be installed in even government level institutions, etc. And they are produced in regions that do apply to the TAA manufacturing standards. Also, because it's us. I think that should stand by itself. No, but giving more context as to why that's a good thing, by bringing the cameras on board with us as well, everything's in the same place. That means for warranty and replacements, etc., and also our expert advice team you can access through inquiries, etc. That's not the same as support, just to clarify, but everything all in one place. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of a tangent here and talk more about General Surveillance Station. That is my job at the end of the day. But we'll also put this to a slant of how the cameras really sort of connect with some of the better features. It's not a Les webinar if I don't get a chance to talk about Central Management System. Now, I believe Central Management System is the future of surveillance everywhere. Put simply, if you have dozens, hundreds of different sites in different places, it can be a nightmare to manage the security of those individual sites. So the Central Management System basically takes a bunch of smaller devices and different sites and syncs all of the footage back so that you can manage it for a single log on on a single device in your head office or wherever you want to locate that. Now, this is great with Synology cameras. As I said, they are license free. That doesn't mean that there's a license in the box with them. That means that they are actually license free. Once you log in, once you set up the camera, it will recognize it's a Synology camera and there's no need for a license on it. That means with this big project I'm working for at the moment in Estonia, I need to provide a mixed number of cameras to 397 sites across Estonia. They're not sure how many cameras are going in each site yet, but rather than faff around with 2 licenses per individual device on each site and how many cameras do we need there, I can roll out as many Synology cameras as they need to those sites, and there's no license calculation overhead on management. They also have their own sort of alerts in the AI section. I'll cover which these are, but you can use these to generate action rules. Now you can see here in the map view, once an action alert is triggered, one of the cool things it can do is just bring your attention to it with an on-screen alert. But you can also tie these into things like SMS, emails, even integrate with door systems and alarms, etc., to trigger that kit with APIs and webhooks. And of course, they're absolutely configurable from our monitor center, which I'm just demonstrating here quickly. Yep, monitor center really is this easy to use. You add a bunch of cameras, you click and drag them into place, and your agents can adjust them in real time. As I said, all of the stuff like the camera adjustments, which we'll cover in a second, all of that can be configured from this menu here, making them very, very easy to manage, even for the people working in the security booth. And just again, while we're talking surveillance station, I demonstrated the map functionality, so just wanted to include a quick slide on it. Essentially, you can just upload an image file with the blueprint for your office, or in this case, my home, and you can just click and drag your new cameras into place to where they would logically be. And even as you're going through, you can view the cameras from the configuration screen. Eventually, you'll get a map like this that just sits in your monitor center that your surveillance staff can use to get like a logical view of where the cameras are and click to flick between them. All right, we'll move on to some of the more sort of standard features. As I said, from Monitor Center, or pretty much anywhere where you can view the camera, you can right-click and go to Edit to adjust the images. We'll do things like tweak the brightness and balance, etc. So if you find that once they're up, it's difficult to see something that they're trying to focus on, you know, people even working in the security booth can just very quickly make a quick tweak so that they can get a better look at that image without having to log into a third-party app to make changes to the camera. You can also control the orientation. Oh, damn it. Flip that one upside down. Nope, no need to get back up on the ladder. Nice and easy. We'll just flip that around for you. You can do that again within Monitoring Center or anywhere where the footage is available. And of course, for RTSP streams, so that means that the camera can sync to multiple individual devices. And of course, that's once it's streamed to the NAS, anyone logging into that NAS won't count towards one of those streams. So you can have, of course, as many people watching from the NAS, but you can have the camera, for instance, one stream going to the NAS on the site that you're connecting to, one going to the CMS host, and another feed going directly to one of your backup servers. And then you've still got one spare if you need to have anything else for redundancy. Talk a little bit about the security features quickly. Firstly, IT auto block functions. Yes, they are IP devices, and people can try to ping them on your network and see if they can find a vulnerability. They'll lock onto that, they'll get wires, and they'll quickly block IP addresses that are acting maliciously. In addition to that, you can also set allowed and block lists, so you can only allow certain IP ranges to even interact with them. On the software level, you can set it so that only certain personnel are able to view them, and even lock that down to specific times. So you can set it so that if you have different shifts working in your security booth, you can set it so that they can only pull from the cameras during the times that they would be on shift. And finally, they offer regular signed firmware updates. Now, we are a known entity on the CVE vulnerability database. We are trusted to self-certify. When any vulnerabilities are discovered, they're brought to our attention immediately, and our guys usually have a fix within 24 hours. To my knowledge, I don't actually think there have been any vulnerabilities specifically for the TC and BC 500 yet, so this applies to the broader range of our products. All right, I'm going to talk about the AI features here. Now, some of you guys who might have attended some of my previous webinars or who know a little bit about Synology Kit might be aware of our DVA units, DVA 1622 and 3221 there, that do onboard processing for AI analytics tasks. I just threw these in here because I want to make a separating point. What we're talking about in this section is nothing to do with those units. All right, those units can provide the AI that we're going to talk about here, but we're purely talking about AI functions that you can get on the BC and TC500 cameras without a DVA. These are features built into the camera, and any NAS that you want to run them from will have these features as long as you're using Syno cameras. First one is our detection features. Now, again, earlier I demoed how the cameras can generate alerts based on events and bring them to people's attention. These can be generated by audio events. The camera hears something, it can switch on recording, or any trigger that you like. Obviously, motion events, these being quite popular. If there's motion in areas that you wouldn't be expecting it, or during hours that you wouldn't expect it, that can generate an event. And they also will generate events based on any intrusion detection or attempts to tamper with the kit. Again, all of this, it can be used to generate alerts within the software itself to bring it to people's attention as they're monitoring. You can drive this to SMS, emails, and through webhooks, you can integrate it with security systems. This one, I think, speaks to itself. Look at that. There you go. Depending on your setting, you can either have it to detect people or vehicles. This is useful when you want to go back and review footage. You can, it will define events where people and vehicles were in shot, and you can select those in the quick view. I'm going to cover that in a demo in just a second. But if you're looking through footage, especially if you're looking at out of hours stuff and people who are going into areas they shouldn't be, it's really useful to just, rather than look through hours of footage, to have a watermark right there, sorry, a page mark right there. That's the bit that you want to see, and the ability to easily download that. Also has crowd detection, so maybe you're not interested in just one or two people outside the building, but you'd like to know if there's crowd building up. The software gives you tools to define a crowd as anything from sort of 1 to 15 people as a starting point, and obviously anything over 15. And it will, again, allow you to generate alerts based on that. And this all breaks down so that when you're reviewing your recordings, if you look there towards the top right, you'll see the little icon of the Google Street View guy, the same icon, or a car. And those will sort of break down in your recordings just events in which there was a detection event. So it can make it nice and quick to find the bits of footage that you're actually interested in without sifting through hours. So I'm going to cover off the quick sort of quick setup of these tools. Everything can be done within anywhere that you can go to edit on the camera. So you can do this within Monitor Center as well. But for the full UI, I've gone into IP Camera, and I'm just going to go to Edit. Again, all of the features that you'd want to set on these cameras is available from this menu, things like the image quality, the brightness, etc. But we're going to go into Analytics. You can set sensitivity, etc. If you've got like a tree that's triggering motion events in there. But really the people and vehicles is where there's a real breakdown in it. With people, you've got additional settings like the crowd detection. By default, you know, it defines 5 as a crowd, but you can set anything as between 1 person and 15 people as a starting point from a crowd. And of course, you know, 16 people is over 15, so that's still going to be included up to ad infinitum. You can also set it to have a duration of how long people are standing around before they're counted as a crowd. And have it to exclude people who've just been there all day. And you can do the same with vehicles. Okay, no crowd capability with vehicles, but you can set it to only alert you if they've been there for a certain amount of time and ignore vehicles that are parked up. Within the parameters, by default, it'll set the whole thing, as you can see here, in this nice lime green color as the search area. But you can simply click and drag to rearrange that to the area that you're looking for. And what this means is that only movement events or vehicle events between that area will be flagged. Or you can set that to exclude, so it'll be everywhere but that area if there's traffic. And you can use the zone count to add additional zones if you need to. This is also available to parameters in intrusion detection, and you can set your intrusion to only target people or vehicles, or literally have any sort of motion in that area. Intrusion tends to work in one direction only by default. So it's if you're going into an area you shouldn't be in, that will generate the alert. But you can set that to omnidirectional or two-way if you want to know about anybody going in or out. James Howlett, I've just seen your comment about temperature and humidity. I'm not sure if these sensors are present on the current cameras. I'm pretty sure that you could write a webhook for that kind of thing, but I'm going to put that in as a suggestion for our developers to look at in the future. Thank you. All right, moving on. I just want to demo again the instant search. This is, how these alerts can actually be used to sort of better manage the footage itself. And this time I'm going to, I could go into recordings, but I'm going to go into Monitor Center and I'm going to do it live. So in the last demo, we set up the recording schedules in the last one. There's an instant search option now where I can instant search for alerts that have been triggered based off of the parameters I set in the last demo. Now I could narrow it down. I only want to know for events that happened in that area that I selected on the screen. And it will pull up all of the events. As you can see, vehicle selected there. And I can click any one of those that I want to view that footage. It will cut directly to that footage in particular. And if I need it for evidence reasons or any other reason, I can just click the ellipsis, go to download, and I can set the parameters for how long I want. I give the admin password to make sure I am, in fact, authorized to download this footage. I can do the same for people, but there you go. It's as simple as that. That footage can also be encrypted. You can configure it so that it's encrypted after you export it so nobody else can view it. You can also do things like put watermarks on it. So if you're concerned about people leaking footage, that's another thing that you can cater for. This is also something that's useful when you go to the actual recordings folder itself. Can it be configured to ignore and authorize whitelist vehicles? Yes and no. So Synology cameras themselves, vehicle detection, and people detection. If you want that functionality, have a look at our DVA units. They do facial and license plate recognition. And with that, you can build on the database to say, hey, these are people and vehicles that we know. And you can set parameters around what you do with the ones that you can have these are allowed and these shouldn't be here, etc. So not with Syno cameras out of the box. With Syno cameras plus a DVA or with a DVA and any camera really, yes, you can achieve that. Sorry, going back to the display here, what we just broke down was how easy it is to find using the people and vehicle section at the top. You can split down by people events and vehicle events, and it just sort of if you've got sort of several days worth of recording. I think most people have around about 7 days of recordings on their primary device before it goes back to a backup device. You can cut down the amount of time looking through blank footage to find what you're looking for with these tags. Bob, I'm not too sure in what context. Can you use the Q&A and just give me a little bit more context as to what you mean by set sequence? Happy to answer that one at the end, sir. Speaking of the end, sorry, I forgot where we were on the slides. Quick recap, we did cover the camera models themselves. I went over a brief demonstration of how easy they are to set up. And we have also covered the software features.